Taoist Magic Talk Show brought to you by Taoist Master 季师傅 and 天日 Dragon Taoism ผู้亮天尊 Hi everyone, welcome back to the show. This is your 季师傅 right here, and today is a very important episode. Save it to a playlist so that you can re-listen or share it out to people that you think is important. So it's a very, very important episode on Chinese New Year. So first thing is, you might wonder why the Chinese New Year, but not the normal New Year, right? Like, we all go by the Western calendar, what we usually call. But why not the modern one? Why we go with the Chinese New Year? Okay, here's the thing. Chinese New Year, we call that the lunar calendar, right? It's according to the moon. The other one is based on the sun. So that's the thing. The cycle of a sun versus the cycle that is calculated using the moon. So that's the difference. Now, here's the thing. In like metaphysics, okay, like the kind of thing that we study, sun and moon is a metaphor. It's a metaphor. It's not like exactly the sun or exactly the moon. It's used to describe something. It's used to describe a pattern. So the sun is like the source of light, which means like this is where it all begins, okay? The moon is where those things from the sun goes into the moon, which absorb the light. And then it bounces off to cause the final stage, which we call the star, which is like the final result. So for example, the sun is equals to a bunch of people, like the boss and some worker and some manager and so on, okay? A bunch of people, ideas, business plan, everything, right? And then the moon is like the thing that absorb them into. So it's like a company or an office, like something that contains them. And then when they go into the moon, absorb, right? They process each other and go through different things and mix and so on. And then eventually the final result will become the star, which is the final result. For example, they made a phone, they made a product, like that. So this is like a metaphor. But even though it's a metaphor, you can still analyze or observe the physical world to use this rule to understand what's going on. So you can see it like this way, okay? Let's take a pen, paper, and draw. So on top, okay, we're like kind of drawing like a timeline. So let's start from the top. The top, you have a sun. You draw a little sun, cartoon sun. In the middle, you have a moon. So you kind of draw a little cartoon moon, okay? So in the bottom, you have like a semi-curve that represents, the planet here, okay? The world here. So the cycle of the sun is like the top, that thing is orbits around and then come back, okay? So it's like that. That's the Western or modern, whatever calendar you want to go by, like the sun calendar, right? So whenever this cycle is like, okay, now it's a fresh new start of the source, okay? So for example, it's like a coffee machine. So you're like having a new bag of beans, changing out everything, okay? New coffee bean, new water, new resources coming in. That's like that. Ouch, sorry, I kicked the mic. So that's like what it means, okay? So the cycle of the moon is like this, the part where like those ingredients is poured to this world. So after the sun got it, it needs to deliver it to the moon, and then the moon give it to us. So when the moon is resetting its cycle, it means that is the time when the coffee beans, the water, and everything is going into us. It's coming to our world, and we're going to feel the effect. Okay, so and of course, it's not like just one day. It's like that is the day at the start. Okay, so when the lunar New Year begins, that is when the actual effect of the new resources that is coming in that will kick into this world and start. So you want to pay attention to the lunar calendar more because that is the time that marks the new stuff that comes in, and you're going to feel the new stuff. So what is this new stuff that we're talking about? Well, in Chinese, we use the term pre-heaven energy, or you can say the dragon energy. 龍氣, okay? The dragon energy. And why it's called a dragon? Because it's like the energy that is passed on from the previous dimension above us. So imagine this, okay? Okay, you have like a ping pong ball, very small ping pong ball, okay? Now you're going to dip the ball into some chocolate, and then you're going to take it out. So it has a coating of brown chocolate. Okay, now this thing dried up. You're going to dip it again into white chocolate, okay? And then you take it out. Now you have some white coating. And then you have like the pink chocolate, so you dip it into the pink. So eventually, you do that a lot of times, you get many layers, right? Layers after layer. That is how the universe or the world works in dimension. The first dimension that was created, not this one, okay, it's so much more ancient than ours. But eventually, the more dimensions it creates, it's like, eventually come to our dimension, right? So everything cycles, like the energy of creation cycles from the inside, the most original one, all the way to ours, and then ours to the one that is after us, and so on. And it reaches the end, it goes back to the top and go back to the original spot. And so it's kind of like a self-cycle, loop like that. So why it is called the dragon energy is because the energy is like a line. It passes down from the first station, and then the first station like process it, and then goes to the next, and then the next goes to the next, and eventually it goes to ours. So let's say like we are like station 45 or something, right? Then you're like, okay, we're done using it. At the year end, we poop out those energy from our dimension, and it goes to the next one that is after us, and so on. So that's why it's called a dragon energy. It's not exactly like the animal dragon. It's more like describing it's a line, right? A line that passes on and on and on from one world, one dimension to the next. So this energy of creation affects the things that is going on here. And you cannot really change anything about it because it's like that's what we got from the previous world. So if the previous world is like doing pretty good, then you got some good energy coming in, right? If they're doing bad, then you still have some bad energy coming in. Now, this energy that comes in blends with what is happening in this world and affect us and give us influence. It's kind of like the weather, It's cold, it's warm, It's influenced the way we live, right? And it's a very subtle, but something that you will feel it every day. It's like it affects the mood, the decision making, the way you think. It affects those things, and it's very important. So you see, the Chinese New Year is coming in, and that means we're going to get that package from the moon, okay, which is like the transition stage. It goes to us now. So after that, you know what? If you're not prepared, or like, okay, let's say someone is going to give you food and your bowl is not clean or your bowl is dirty, then you have like a bowl of dirty food that will give you sickness while you eat it, right? But if you have like clean up your bowl and get ready everything, right? The energy poured in, like the food comes in, you have a lot of food to eat and you'll be having a good year, at least better than not prepared, okay? So that's why you need to prepare and be very aware of this Chinese New Year. It's not just the Chinese New Year. It's like the Lunar New Year, okay? That is important. Not only the Chinese. It applies to everyone. So even you're not a Chinese, you're like, Canadian, you're USA, American, whatever. It affects you too. It affects the whole world, right? And So yeah, it is a very important day. So 3 tips, talking about preparing, transitioning like on the day, and also afterward what you should be prepared for. So before the Chinese New Year, this year is like January 22. So starting this week, okay, you gotta prepare, clean up your house, throw out things that you don't want or need anymore, like old clothing, old pots and pans, and things that you don't like really use much. You can think about it this way: I throw away this stuff. This year I'm going to buy new things. It's fine, right? Like you have some pots and pans that you never use and they're like inside the kitchen for a long time. Well, throw them out and think about it. Hey, if I need it again, I'll buy new ones. I'll buy better ones this year, right? That's fine, throw things out. Yeah, like many bags of garbage, throw them out, because why? You want to get rid of the old energy, cut it off, so that you can get a refresh and a new energy that comes in. And you know what? All these things that you have, which you don't use anymore, and they are actually like wasting the quota. Like internet bandwidth, you're like opening so many downloads, but you don't need those files. You're wasting the quota. If you focus all those incoming new energy into things that you need only, that will make the stuff much stronger, right? So it's like, okay, I used to like playing basketball and I have all that basketball stuff, but now I don't do it anymore. Some people are like, oh yeah, I'll keep it, maybe like in the future I'll play again. No, you know what? Throw them out. If you need it, you buy again, okay? You buy again later, buy the better ones. But now you're into photography. So keep the cameras, keep your photography stuff. This year, the energy comes in, it's gonna go into those, and it's gonna help you more on photography and not gonna waste a single bit of that quota on things that you don't do anymore. So find things that is old, you don't need, or something you might want to like change it out, might as well just throw it first. Okay. During the Chinese New Year period, that is the 15 days, starting January 22 this year, 15 days onward, that is the New Year period. Okay, during that period, you want to avoid things that is not good. For example, you don't want to have fights and arguments with people. You don't want to deal with people that is like annoying, and you don't want to see them, right? So avoid those kind of interaction, conflicts, and so on. I'm not saying that like people punch you and you don't punch them back though. Okay, like if people kind of bitch around and want to pick a fight, it's okay. Like open the year with them, beat the shit out of them. It's fine, right? But avoid if you can. Okay, just try to keep the 2 weeks very stable, consistent, and positive. Because the energy is coming in. It's like people are pouring food into your bowl, right? So if you like shake around, move around, then you spill, right? So keep things consistent, okay? Consistent, stable, like very peaceful, and just go through the 2 weeks without causing any chaos. If you have to make big decision, do that later, right? Like don't make a big decision and then I regret doing that. Don't do that, right? Try to like wait after the receiving period, after people are done pouring the soup into your bowl. That takes 2 weeks, right? After the 2 weeks, then you can start doing whatever you want, okay? So keep it quiet, okay? And you can do things that are positive, things that you like to blossom this year. For example, you're like a photographer, right? And you wanted one more like photography job and things. Well, during the Chinese New Year, get some jobs or work on these things. It's like you're telling the energy, I like these. Like do more things that you would like for the year. Do those things so that the energy understand, oh, okay, you want these things. And let the energy go in there as you do. So work on things that you like, okay? And then that's good. After the 15 days, that's the end period, right? Okay, now the New Year period is ended. You can go back to whatever you want and do whatever you want. But before you do that, make sure you go through the house and clear everything and clean up your house. Do a concluding to tell the house energy that we are done with the new year. Okay, like you wrap it up, right? You tell the energy that we're done. So you pack up everything that is related to New Year, like decoration or whatever you put up, okay? Or just give your house like a clean up, right? A refresh, and then say, okay, we are done. We're done. And now we're going to move on to whatever we have to do for the year. Now, you are good. So wrapping up the year, and then tell yourself and tell your house, the energy of the house, that we are done with the new year. Now the house energy will start to utilize and absorb and process those energies that came in. Okay, so I'm not going to make it too complicated and give you like a list of taboos of what to do, not do. You don't need that. You need to understand the concept and only remember 3 things: before, during, after, right? Before the new year, clean up the house, get rid of bad stuff, like anything you don't need. Focus. Make the energy that will come in be focused to where it should be. Okay, get rid of distraction, right? When the new year is happening for the 2 weeks, be stable. Don't move, right? Stable, consistent, and work on things that you like, okay? You like or important, right? And then after the new year is done, you will be doing a concluding, like wrap up, clean up, and so on. Tell yourself and the house that it's all done, and now the energy will start to kick in and slowly absorb into things. So this is what you need to remember, okay? And it applies to lunar only. You don't need to work on like the other calendar new year, because it's over and it doesn't really matter, because during that time, the energy is not yet poured into here. It's still like in the other dimension preparing. So you don't need to really care about that yet. But now for this Lunar New Year, you need to care, okay? Okay, so some like common cultural taboos. During the New Year, do not shower. Do not cut your hair. Do not throw garbage, right? Well, now you understand why. Because during the New Year, if you cut the hair, it's like cutting the hair is like you get rid of things, right? You're like cutting off the stuff. So if you're like cutting your hair during the Chinese New Year, what happened? Well, your hair is like they're like antennas. They receive energy, right? You cut it off. It's like it's like you're on the internet, and you like pull the wire out of your modem, and then you plug it in again. So you're kind of like, people are transferring file to you, and then you pull the cable, and then you plug it in, and you pull the cable, plug it in, right? Imagine that. It's disturbing the receiving process of the pre-heaven energy. Of course, it's not good. Throwing out the garbage during the Chinese New Year is not a problem, but it's always good for the first 2 days or so, keep it, and then on like after the 3rd day you throw it out. It's better because you want to like accumulate the energy up a bit before you actually show the house that you can start cycling. So it's kind of like you're building up the pressure of the energy and making it stronger. It's okay if you have to dump, it's fine, okay, not a big problem. And people are like, oh, you should wear red. Well, that doesn't really matter, okay? You can wear anything. Well, why red? Because red, the energy is like going to understand what it means. Red means like pushing things out to the reality, like making things come true, right? So you're like trying to use the color to talk to the energy and say, hey, come out to this world, let the fire vent out, let the energy vent out to this dimension. So you're like kind of helping the energy to come out. But if you understand what I have just taught, then the color doesn't matter as much, because like, yeah, I know what I'm doing already. I know what I want already. The energy understand too. You don't need to use the color. There's many ways to talk to the energy. You don't need to use color all the time. But anyway, you see my timer is up again. So if you have any question, feel free to put it in the comment box below, and we'll answer you and so on. So we'll see you in the next episode. Okay, bye-bye.